It was sunny outside. The rays of the sun made their way through the dense foliage of trees. A young girl was returning home from another city where she had been studying for 3 years. She listened to music loudly in her car, which her father gave her for her 18th birthday. Jane was born into a very respectable family. Her father is in business, and her mother has been a violinist at the Philharmonic all her life. Parents often wondered why their daughter did not look like them at all. She had almost no interests in life. All she wanted to do was have fun and not think about anything. However, this is what she did. Jane has been a spoiled child since childhood. She's the only one in the family. Her parents gave her all their love and care, only to her. She used this and always knew that she could count on parental help. The girl studied at university where her parents sent her, although she did not want it at all. Jane was going to live in her city, where she has many friends and entertainment, but her father decided otherwise. He perfectly understood that here his daughter would only walk, and there she would have to become independent. But he was wrong. The girl still pulled money from them and had fun, only in another city. The parents didn't see it, but they knew it. Jane drove slowly, trying to see what was going on around her. She was very pleased with the summer. She was looking forward to meeting her friends, how she would have a rest. She won't even go to the sea this year, but all because it will be good here too. The huge cottage on the outskirts of the city where Jane had spent her childhood was already visible. She smiled broadly and picked up speed. Her mother met her in the yard, Miss Rosie Groan, a very sophisticated and too cultured woman. "Daughter, you've finally arrived, but how I missed you!" The woman hugged her daughter. "Well, Mom, what a circus! We haven't seen each other for just a few months, and you speak as if I had not been here for a year, and more than one." "Jane, didn't you get missed?" "I never got missed. You knew where to learn to send me, so that I didn't have time at all." Jane snorted. Mom was left standing on the street with a thoughtful face, and she did not really like the tone in which her daughter spoke. She is still not used to the fact that her daughter is so impudent and does not put them at all. Jane entered the house and loudly set down the heavy suitcase. She looked up the stairs as her father descended. "Hello, daughter." "Hello," dryly and without emotion, she answered. "I am very glad that you came. This is good." "Everything? Can I go to my place? Has everyone seen me?" "Daughter, could you not be rude at least now?" "What, now some special moment?" "But we haven't seen each other for a long time," said the father. "That's it, Dad. Finish the circus. I'm tired." "Okay, baby. Go to get some rest. But an hour later, lunch. I'll be waiting for you at the table." "Yeah," said Jane, going upstairs. Jane went to her room. Nothing has changed here. Everything is in its place. She sat down on the sofa and thought, or maybe Mom is right, that a lot of time has already passed since the last time she came here. Perhaps this time flew by for her like one day, and her parents really missed her, waiting for a meeting with her. Increasingly, she was visited by such thoughts that she became not at all the child who was brought up in love and care. The girl became very sad and at the same time ashamed that she did not become the daughter that her father so dreamed of. She remembered her childhood, how her dad used to take her fishing all the time. He didn't have as much money back then as he does now. However, she loved him then sincerely. Now she can't say that. All she wants from him is his money. And my mother, she was also completely different. She used to spend a lot of time with Jane, but as soon as the girl became independent, her mother completely immersed herself in her career and almost did not remember her daughter. They, of course, gave her time, but then a small child needed much more of it. Jane had a nanny, Miss Mia Hole, an elderly woman who recently passed away. It was a very difficult time for Jane, because it was she who became her second mother. An hour passed after these reflections, and she heard that her father was calling her to dinner. The girl quickly changed and went downstairs. Halfway through, she noticed that some unknown people were sitting at the table. Jane was very surprised that her people invited someone to visit after all. Before, it seemed to her they were not capable of fun gatherings and conversations, and now they were sitting, talking with these people and laughing merrily. "Jane, Get acquainted. This is my friend and companion, Jonathan. Very nice. Carefully looked at the man, Jane. And I'm very pleased. The man kissed Jane's hand. She was a little embarrassed and began to wait further when her father would introduce another person, with a handsome man who was sitting opposite. Jane, this is Ray Harris. Ray is also my work colleague. Ray extended his hand to Jane. She looked at him carefully. He was kind of mysterious. He had eyes as black as night, but at the same time blonde hair. A very beautiful combination. Jane noticed this immediately, and all evening she sat and looked at him. She was interested in listening to him, and her father immediately noticed it. At the end of the evening, when the guests had already left, the father continued to sit at the table, and Jane sat with him. Daughter, why did you look at Ray like that all evening? Did you meet him somewhere? No, we haven't met anywhere. He just has such a memorable appearance that I constantly wanted to look at him. Clear, but if you are interested, then Ray is not married, the father smiled. But Dad, why should I know this? I am. By the way, but don't listen. He's too old for you. I was just joking. The father made a serious face. Then they dispersed to their rooms. Jane quickly fell asleep. After all, she was tired from the road. Today she slept just fine. Probably the fact that she was finally home, and she did not need to get up early tomorrow had an effect. The sun was rising over the city, and outside the window birds began to chirp. There was a wonderful atmosphere all around. The girl woke up very early. She didn't expect this from herself. She constantly slept until dinner, and now there was not even 6 a.m. on the clock. She stepped outside and breathed in the clean air. Dew glistened on the leaves of the trees that grew in their garden. Good morning. Suddenly there was a voice of the father behind. Daddy, why are you not sleeping? I always get up so early. I really enjoy watching our city wake up. But Dad, you have a high fence. What can you see here? And you would at least once go out to the balcony in your room at such a time and see everything. I even became interested. I'll go and see. Yes, wait, you. Let's stand here. You just breathe in this clean air. Can you smell the rain? I feel, Dad. You know, daughter, when you were very little, I always went outside with you in the morning. You were very tiny, but you woke up before everyone else. I took you, wrapped you in a blanket, and then went to the gazebo so that you would not disturb your mother's sleep. She was very tired. How many times did I get up to you in the middle of the night? Why did I cry so often? You have no idea, laughed his father. Oh, Dad, can you be normal when you don't swear at me because of money? And how not to swear at you when you do not earn, but to spend? Oh, how you love. But I'll get married and spend my husband's money, the girl laughed. Oh, hurry up. I don't mind for a long time. It's time for grandchildren. I'm not ready for children yet, but so as not to annoy your eyes, I would get married. Go to sleep, dreamer, she dreams. You find someone who will marry you. Your peers have only parties in their heads, but there is no work and no money. And I'll find an older one to be wealthy. Isn't Ray so attracted to you, daughter? It doesn't matter anymore, Daddy. Jane kissed her father and ran to her room. She got into bed and tried to sleep, but nothing came of it. For some reason she thought of Ray Harris. She clearly reproduced in her head his silhouette, the outlines of his face. The girl perfectly understood that she was starting to fall in love with him, but it was very strange for her, because this had never happened before. Although she had a relationship, everything went very quickly and did not leave any trace in her memory. She just used men, and then forgot. And so it always has been. But this man she liked. He is handsome, rich in general. This is what she needs. She lay still a little, then got up and went to the kitchen. Mom was already preparing breakfast, because she had to leave the house an hour before the working day. The Philharmonic was on the other side of the city. It was obvious that she was in a hurry. Jane, since you are already up, wash the dishes. Well, or put everything in the dishwasher. Mom, Dad earns a lot. Can't you hire a cleaning lady? Don't make up nonsense. I can handle everything. We don't need anyone, and now you're at home too. Mom, but I'm not your servant. And I don't say that, but you have to help me, and this is not discussed, Mum said and put the dirty mug in the sink. Jane looked at her mother and followed her to the door. She was very offended that she came to rest, and her mother makes her wash dirty dishes. The girl planned completely different entertainment for today. Jane was washing the dishes and drying her hands when her father came up to her. Dad smiled when he saw that his daughter had washed all the dishes. He was pleased with this. What did it get into you that you decided to wash everything here? Nothing, Dad. I want to talk to you about the car. The father widened his eyes. I don't like my car anymore. Maybe we can buy another one? Are you serious? Well, why not? You obviously have a lot of money. Daughter, do you want us to quarrel now? No, Dad, I'm serious. I've wanted to talk about this for a long time. I'm just looking. You have a new one and I drive an old one. Daughter, your car is from the factory, and it's not even 5 years old. But I want another. Let's talk about this later. I now need to meet with Ray, who was visiting us. If we sign a contract with him, then perhaps then I will want to talk to you about this. And now I have no time. With Ray? Sharply changed in the voice of the girl. It is with him. Dad didn't say anything else. He also put the mug in the sink and left. Jane realized that this was her chance to see Ray again. She quickly packed up and drove to her father's work. The girl decided to follow this man, whom she liked so much. She did not care that he was 15 years older than her, or even more. Arriving at the office, she stood in front of the entrance and waited for Ray to come out. The girl did not take her eyes off the main entrance in the hope that he was about to appear. She waited a very long time, and finally he appeared. He was so cheerful that Jane immediately realized that the deal was a success. Ray got into the car and drove off. Jane followed him slowly. She wanted to know where he lives. They drove through the whole city, and then his car stopped near the store where the man went. Jane got out of her car and opened the hood. She decided to portray a deliberate breakdown so that he would notice her. The girl pulled out some kind of hose and waited for Ray. Half an hour later, he came out with large packages, putting them in the car. He walked over to Jane, who was diligently digging under the hood. Girl, is something broken with you? Jane looked up and saw Ray. She smiled and pretended that she broke here, quite by accident. Oh, Ray! And how did you get here? Yes, I went into the store, but it seems to me that you were driving behind me. But I was driving out of town, and what were you driving ahead of me? Okay, no matter. What's broken here? I don't know. The car is not moving. The girl blinked her eyes. Well, let's see now. Ray looked under the hood of the car for a long time, and then smiled. I wonder how such a breakdown could happen to you. I don't know. The car is so old. I wouldn't say that. A pretty good car. The man quickly fixed the breakdown and was about to leave, but Jane continued to chat and use her flirting skills. The man did not quite understand her hits. Ray, maybe I could treat you to dinner? You helped me so much. Well, what are you? It's me who should treat such a beautiful girl. But you see, I need to go home. The workers are waiting for me there. I need to pay for repairs. I bought food. I thought to cook something in the evening. Don't invite me to your home. Why not? Are you serious? Girls don't want to go to a guy's house on their first date. I'm brave. Very brave. Well, let's go then. I will treat you to a delicious duck according to Grandma's recipe. With pleasure. Jane followed Ray. She was very interested to find out what kind of repairs he has there, and in general where he lives. And here they were, near a very beautiful mansion. He was so big that Jane immediately realized that this man was much richer than her father. Such an opportunity cannot be missed. He cooked dinner, served drinks from his bar. Jane really liked what was happening now. She carefully looked at Ray and understood that you simply couldn't take such a man. She tried to talk to him on topics in which she was strong, but unfortunately there were not many of them. Jane admired this man, and in her head there was already a recount of everything that is in his house. She saw that a very expensive painting was hanging in the kitchen, and a golden figurine was standing in the hall. Jane was well aware that all this cost a lot of money. Jane seemed to love money so much that she would do anything for it. After a couple of hours, Jane decided it was time for her to go home. She wanted to appear very decent so as not to frighten him off. Okay, I'm probably going home. But how are you going? Oh, yes, I've been drinking. I completely forgot something. Stay here. I can give you a whole room. Well, I don't know. It's somehow uncomfortable. I promise I will not pester. The man smiled. Well, I'm not afraid, laughed Jane. Okay, I'm staying. She slept in another room, but for a long time she could not sleep. Jane got up and went into Ray's room. Without saying anything, she kissed him. From that day on, they began a relationship. The girl often stayed with him for the night, and did not say anything to her parents. She even forgot that she asked for a new car. Now it was not at all up to it. Jane is very smart. She walked around the house during the day, looked out for books that the man reads, looked at his office, tried to understand everything that he loves, and then talked to him about these topics. The man began to fall in love with her. Jane, you are so special. I feel so good with you. You understand me like no one else. You and I have a lot in common. Ray, I am normal. No, you know, you are very similar to my daughter. She's a little younger than you, true. I haven't seen her for a very long time. Do you have a daughter? Jane was surprised. Yes, her mother and I divorced a long time ago, and they live abroad. I really miss. But she doesn't want to talk to me. Mom told her everything, but I'm not angry. The man lowered his eyes. Ray, everything will be fine. Jane, can I marry you? No one has ever understood me like that, the man said jokingly. At that moment, Jane's head felt like there was a short circuit. She imagined her life as a wife for a second, and she liked the idea very much. I don't mind, she laughed. After 2 months of relationship, Jane's father found out about this. He was furious. He did not understand how his daughter dared meet with his business partner. Jane, are you out of your mind? He is old for you. Stop making people laugh immediately. Dad, it's none of your business. More like mine. I do not want to talk about this. I told you not to talk to him anymore. He didn't sign a contract with me, so he also decided to take his daughter away from the family. Didn't sign? No. He was not satisfied with some conditions. Weird. I warned you. Of course, Jane did not listen to her father, and soon had an even stronger fight with him. It got to the point that he told her not to show up at home until she puts this love out of her head. Jane just grinned, packed her things, and left for Ray. Ray, though surprised, was delighted. They began to live together. Jane learned to cook and gradually became the mistress of the house. Ray looked at her and knew that he must not lose her. He is fine with her, but what else do you need? He proposed to her 6 months after they met. This was not very good news for her parents. They found out about this only after the wedding, because Jane did not even invite them. She did not want Dad to make a scandal at the wedding. She decided that it would be better that way. Now she was a legal wife. Life has become completely different. She lay on the bed all day or disappeared in beauty salons. Everything suited her. The girl always wanted to live that way. Ray did not save on it at all. He fulfilled any whims. They lived well, but Ray began to pester her with questions about the children, from which Jane did not understand what to do with her. Beloved, when will we have children? Maybe not now. I'm somehow not ready for this yet. I don't want to sit at home all the time and wipe my snot. Jane, I'm not young, and you must understand that I need an heir. I understand, but I'm not ready yet. I need more time. I'm ready to wait, but remember what you promised me. But of course I remember everything. It's been 2 years since their wedding. She never spoke to her parents. Mom many times wanted to improve relations with her daughter, but Jane did not go forward, believing that she was at the same time with her father. The father himself did not want to put up with her. Jane lived for her own pleasure, drove a new car, bought the most fashionable, expensive things, went to a club where she disappeared until morning and did not think about anything. She even forgot that her husband told her that one of these days he would go on business to another city. Early in the morning, he kissed her sleeping and left. She woke up just before dinner. Jane was a lot of fun, judging by the torn dress. She washed her face and remembered that her husband had left, which meant only one thing: that today you can invite all of your friends to the house and have a party. She was waiting for the evening to invite everyone to her home, when suddenly she received a call from the hospital and was informed that her husband was with them. There was a collision. He suffered a lot. The girl listened attentively to what she was told and rushed there. Ray was hooked up to the machines. Jane looked at him and did not recognize her husband. There were no tears or emotions on her face. She stood by as if nothing had happened. "Miss Harris, it is not known how long he will be in this state, and I cannot even promise that he will come out of it. Hold on." The doctor patted on the shoulder. Jane went outside. She still didn't realize what had happened. She slowly walked to the car, and then her friend called asking about the upcoming party. Jane cheered up sadly and cheered up. Of course, everything is in force. The party lasted until morning, and then the girl slept until evening, and she didn't even remember her beloved husband. She didn't care how he was there. She only thought that if he still did not get out, then she would be the most enviable bride with that kind of money. In her mind, she was already distributing the money she would inherit. However, it was not clear how much Ray would fight, and suddenly everything does not go as planned by Jane. All that was left for her now was to enjoy her life while her husband was away from the house. She even fired the gardener, an elderly old man who worked here for a very long time. After all, he dared to make a remark to her. One day he told her, "Miss Harris, you would go to your husband. Talk to him. Your native voice heals." And suddenly he would come out of a deep sleep. "Don't talk nonsense. You probably don't give a damn about him, but he loves you." This made her very angry, and she decided that he would not be here anymore. She never once regretted firing him. Time passed very quickly. Jane walked and very rarely went to her husband, who was not getting better. She already knew perfectly well that everything would be as she dreamed, and then one evening they called her and offered to come in the morning to the head doctor. Jane was afraid to hear that he was out of a coma. She was afraid to realize it, but she did not want him to return to her again. During this time, she had long ago had another man, young, active, and very similar to her. She was driving early in the morning. The sun was just beginning to rise. Jane went into the doctor's office. "Hello. We have a very serious question for you. You see, your husband... although, let's go to his room." Jane hurried for the doctor. "He's unchanged. We need to turn it off. Nothing will happen," the doctor said, lowering his eyes. "Disconnect it from the apparatus," said, smiling, the young wife. "I agree." But then a voice was heard. "No, you can't do that!" A young girl was standing at the entrance to the ward. "And who are you exactly? And what are you commanding here?" Jane asked. "My name is Ellie. I am a daughter." "Like a daughter? Where did you come from here?" "I was recently informed that my father was in the hospital in a serious condition, so I arrived." "I won't let you do it. Don't even dream about it." "Good," said the doctor. "It is good that you managed to come." Jane ran out of the room very angry. She was not very happy that this daughter, whom she had never seen, appeared. She drove home, cursed with herself all the way. "Yes, why did you come? So the princess appeared." Jane was sure that Ray would not wake up, but a week later they reported that he was out of his state. She couldn't believe it. The girl perfectly understood that her daughter would tell him everything. This means that divorce is inevitable. She went to him and wanted to explain everything, but Ray already knew everything. He tightly squeezed his daughter's hand and was glad that she was there. He needed nothing more to be happy. "Jane, I know everything. Gather things. I have already submitted the divorce papers. Let's get divorced peacefully and calmly." "How could you believe her?" Jane screamed, tried to prove that everything was not true, but no one believed her. This morning she stopped at a parent's house with nowhere to go. As much as she did not want to understand this, her parents were right when they said that she was getting married in vain. Now, she has nothing. No education, because she left the university. There is no family, because she herself destroyed it. And a very bad relationship with parents is also thanks to her. She stood in the courtyard for a long time, and did not understand how to enter the house. It was very embarrassing to appear in the house of her parents, because she did not even invite them to the wedding, and they already know everything. However, there is nowhere else to go. Taking a deep breath of air, she rang the doorbell. Dad opened. He looked at her carefully. "Daddy, I'm sorry." "Come on, daughter." "Dad, you're right. You were right about everything." She cried and hugged her father. "Don't cry, my little one. No matter what you do, you will still be our daughter. You understand? We love you and will never give offense." "I'm so ashamed. What a fool I was." Jane's parents forgave. She finally realized that only her parents truly love her. Other people don't need it. Friends disappeared when there was no place where you can walk for a long time. The ex-husband doesn't want to see her anymore. He now spends time with his daughter and enjoys life. A long road of recovery awaits him, but these are all trifles. The daughter will definitely put him on his feet. And indeed, he probably recovered so quickly only because his beloved daughter sat next to him for days. Ellie blamed herself for believing her mother, who lied that her father did not want to go and see her. It's good that the gardener found her phone number and told the whole truth. Ray also had a number. He still didn't dare to call. It's not nice to say that, but if it wasn't for that chance, they never would have met. Jane went out onto her balcony for the first time in her life early in the morning. She watched the city wake up. The lights went out. People appeared on the street who were in a hurry to work. And only Jane was in no hurry. She was free. A year later, she returned to her studies and graduated from the university, then returned to her parents and married a very ordinary guy who had no money and even an apartment. For the first time in her life, she truly fell in love, and family life with Ray was just a small segment of life that needed to be passed. Now she knows that happiness is not all about money. It is a pity that she realized this very late.